Welcome friends to another 40k video. Today we look at the Black Dragon Space Marine chapter. This content is based on the Bless the Curse by Callum Davis. When a Primaris Marine arrives to join the chapter, one who must report to an inquisitor if he finds corruption within the chapter. What will he do? Friends, let's find out. A mutation in their gene seed has granted them great strength in bone-formed crests on their heads and blades protruding from their arms, but also has led to doubts about their purity. Ekarash, the Primaris, recalls what the Inquisitor wanted. If these black dragons exhibit heresy, they must be revealed for the traitors they are and dealt with. And Ekarash has a device to call the Inquisitor if he finds these things to be true, and he's taken by a serf to meet his firstborn brothers. He saw the firstborn Marines. On one, two horns, each as long as Ekarash's forearm, protruded from the Marine's skull. They were coated in adamantine, which gleamed in the flickering torchlight that lit the room. They bear their mutations so obviously, without shame. Those with more horns on show were at the centre of power. They honoured the mutated. It was worse than he had ever believed possible. Ekarash and the other Primaris are told to give their names and declare themselves as black dragons, which causes an uproar. "You may wear our black, but you are no dragon," said the chaplain. "What must we do, chaplain, to earn the title, to earn our place in this brotherhood?" interrupted Ekarash. He's told there is no time for the usual rites, but battle will prove their worth. They approach a place called Rendolia, and the dogs of the World Eaters and the damned hordes of mindless followers and craven slaves besiege its fortress. Chaplain Dareg tells them, "We come to relieve the defenders." Ekarash noticed, as they were being deployed, that many of the other black dragons, those without horns, had painted claws on the vambraces of their armour and helmets. Even those without the curse take it upon themselves in spirit. The idea of wishing the Emperor's creation to be twisted so overtly made Ekarash feel sick, but he also hears they will be putting themselves at risk for refugees, and all the Astartes chant "Bless the Curse," except for the Primaris, and later, as a whole, they begin to cut down the cultists they face, slaughter them in fact, but their numbers seemed endless. After the cultists had been crushed, they faced the demonic World Eaters. They were not unlike the Black Dragons. The similarities were so tangible, yet the Black Dragons are no raving madmen. Here they have slain the Emperor's foes, not his loyal subjects. The Black Dragons drowned the Eaters in a hail of fire, but the Dragons have not yet got into position for a firm firing line, so Ekarash can see out of position dragons and warns his superior, but is ignored, so his forces draw blades and charge, and they engaged the enemy. And Ekarash finished his man with a blade to the neck, and around him the fight descended into a hectic melee, each warrior fighting to stay alive. There was no finesse, no glory, just fury, a fight driven by the deepest hatred and wrath, and fueled by ruthless determination to see the foe dead by whatever means necessary. Then the demonic-looking dragon claws of the Black Dragons arrived in jump packs, and they crushed the World Eaters between their two forces. The chaplain Dareg led them and punched his forearm blade through knees, guts and heads. Wherever he went, the blood of the foe flowed in rivers. Ekarash was jealous of the chaplain's power. They were containing the World Eaters now almost everywhere, except in one place Ekarash saw the World Eaters champion was one foe the Black Dragons had yet to fully contend with, and so Chaplain Dareg stepped into that void, and Ekarash saw he would need support, and fought through to aid him. He would repay the debt, so as the traitor champion and the chaplain fought, and the champion broke one of Dareg's bone spikes. Ekarash saw how vulnerable the chaplain was, and stepped in, and in the end he grappled with the World Eater champion. And the Primaris sees that though the dragons fall far, they do not fall as far as the champion and the World Eaters. And then his opponent is pierced with an adamantine spike driven through his head, a spike that belonged to Dareg. "I had him," Ekarash shouted. He shoved the corpse to one side. "I know, Grey Shield," said Dareg, but not fast enough. The chaplain stood over Ekarash, offering a hand. Ekarash glared at him. He hesitated. Earn their trust, the inquisitor had said. He took the chaplain's hand, and Darrig brought him to his feet. And so Ekarash and the other Primaris fought on in other engagements, earning some respect, but he was still excluded from rituals and tactics, and now felt left out. But in another way, he was becoming part of them. The claws were growing within him. And he did not feel horror. I am a black dragon, whether they acknowledge it or like it or not, and I will make them see it one way or another, he said. After he meets the chaplain, who says after the fighting he has recommended the Primaris technology be deployed, and says Ekarash must undergo the trials to be a true brother, but the Primaris has earned his respect. Then Ekarash remembered the Inquisitor's device. What would he do? Report his chapter? His brothers? He knew with growths in his arms the Inquisitor would kill him now anyway. To aid him and to kill these warriors would be injustice of the most gross and self-defeating kind. He placed the device on the floor. He brought his boot down on top of it, crushing it, and says, "Bless the curse." So now, friends, I turn things over to you. I hope you enjoyed this video on the Black Dragons. Drop me a comment down below.